Hello. Today we are speaking with Erika Caramillo-Hatch. She is a visiting professor here at UL. Erika, would you please tell us a bit about your education?
Sure. So I went to undergrad in Virginia at a school called the University of Mary Washington, where I double majored in psychology and classical civilization. Um, yeah, yeah. So my initial, job, I guess, trajectory that I wanted to do was to become a cognitive archaeologist, where people go do dig sites, they go dig up, artifacts from ancient civilizations, and they essentially hypothesize about the psychological states of the people way back when. But I did not decide to do that, right? Because you had to learn a lot of languages. And I didn't want to learn a lot of languages. So instead, I focused more on the psychology aspects of my degrees. So I went on to grad school after that. I went to the University of Louisiana, Monroe, for my master's because I wasn't sure whether I wanted to do clinical or experimental psychology. And I just wanted to test the waters a little bit, I suppose. And through that, I did my thesis on more of a cognitive evolutionary psychology focus. Mm-hmm. And I then went on to my PhD at the University of Southern Mississippi, where I worked with zebrafish in a behavioral neuroscience lab. So my educational career has jumped a little bit, but I really think that I found my niche and what I was really passionate about through experience. So
that's wonderful. Who were your mentors?
So in undergrad, I had a great mentor. Her name was, or is, I should say, Dr. Jennifer Maylou, and she was the S&P specialist at the school I went to, so sensation and perception. And I did my senior research project with her, worked with her in labs, things of that nature. And she kind of fostered my initial interest in more of the biological side of psychology. After that, I worked with Dr. Jack Palmer with the cognitive and evolutionary side of psychology. And he was my thesis advisor. And then my doctoral advisor was Dr. David Echevarria. And his focus was on zebrafish, but more specifically with things like addiction. And I went a little bit of a different route, but still stayed with the zebrafish.
And when did you become part of the faculty at the psychology department at UL?
Ooh, it was 2 and a bit years ago. So this is my 3rd year at UL. Yeah.
I see. And what courses do you typically teach?
I teach all of the lovely biopsych courses. So I teach Psych 425G and 426G, which are kind of connected courses. The first is on physiological psychology, so more of the biological underpinnings of the brain, neural messaging, behavior. And then 426 is behavioral neuroscience, where we look at more specific behaviors and their effects on the brain and vice versa. I also teach Psych 200, which is psychological science, which I suppose is like a precursor to research methods, which has been fun. I've been enjoying that. I teach graduate level statistics, so 515. And I used to teach Psych 209, but that's not a course anymore, which was Intro to Psychology. But.
Right. Well, that's excellent. So tell us a bit about those zebrafish. Is there a framework that guides your research?
So my zebrafish, I suppose we come at it generally from the behavioral neuroscience standpoint rather than just a physiological psychology standpoint, where we're really interested in connecting behavior to biology. So we don't focus so much on the neurons, neural firing, neurotransmitters. Of course, those are all absolutely important, but we really try to connect all of that biological information to behavior. And really also, we come at our research from a comparative standpoint, where it's not just about connecting the zebrafish behavior to their biology, but also zebrafish behavior to human behavior. So how can we learn about humans, right, by learning about zebrafish?
Okay. So tell us about what studies are you doing? Is there one that you'd like to tell us a lot about?
Yeah, and actually one of my lovely lab students will be presenting about this particular study at the research symposium on the 6th of October. I'm not sure when this is coming up, but that will have been presented, so you can learn more there. But one of the projects that we're working on right now has to do with feeding behaviors and cognition. So how does different types of eating behaviors, how many calories an animal eats, how does that affect their memory capabilities? There is human research and some rodent research that suggests that people who have sustained lower calorie diets have a significantly less likelihood of developing Alzheimer's and other age-related cognitive decline-related disorders and diseases. It hasn't been tested in the zebrafish, so we are working towards replicating those human and rodent studies in the zebrafish, which I'm excited about. It's pretty cool.
So you put all your fish on a diet?
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow. Well, they're on a diet anyway, but
Some of
a
them.
restricted calorie diet.
Yeah, we have a control group too, so they're the ones who eat as normal. Yeah.
And I know that you have a lot of students in your lab because I saw them the other day. But what if a student sees this and would like to join the zebrafish lab? How do they go about doing that?
So we do have a lab application, but we use the lab application just to get to know you. So it's not so much a culling process based on the application, but you can contact me through my email, which is my name, or my C number, so Erika.Caramillo-Hatch at louisiana.edu to receive the application. You can also stop by my office if I'm in there to get one as well. That's Girard 302A. It's in the creepy little hallway that's next to the physio classroom, if you are familiar. And yeah, so you get an application, you fill it out, return it to me. Then we meet so I can get to know you. And if we both mutually decide that it's a good relationship, right, that my lab is going to provide you with something that you need, then you'll be invited to join us for lab meetings.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about your experience at UL?
I love it. I do. I love all the students. Really, my experience at UL has been pretty amazing, especially as a visiting professor, that, I've formed really great relationships with a lot of the students in the faculty as well. That has made me feel very welcome, and that I hope to, build upon in the next months and semesters and all that good stuff. So
okay, excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to do the interview with us.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Thank you. This is where I'm going to edit out.